and push the doctrine that his oppressors gave him, you know. But that's Jake for you, man, you know. We've had Northern and Southern Kingdom do that in the last 2 weeks at camp, you know. Because our people, like we always say, are drunk off of the bottle of wine here in Babylon. Verse 16, I read that one. Verse 17, there will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed. And a lamp is symbolizing light, right? So the anointed are the light. You know, when we're standing out there on those street corners, if you could picture the whole world just dark, like a nighttime, you know, and then you see some men standing in the midst of darkness, then they would be light. They would be the contrast, you know. Like we talked about it at camp last week. You know, we said, hey, we were explaining the congregation of the dead. Well, those are the Israelites who are not hearkening to this truth. Those are the Israelites that are, you know, still following Esau and his doctrines. But when they have the true light, the lamp and the horn of David, you know, and we're also the horn of David because we're out there yelling, speaking out loud, you know, like a horn or a trumpet, you know. And you know, we have a proverb and a parable against the king of Babylon, you know. What's the best way to say it, you know? We're crying aloud in the streets of Babylon and letting the sons and daughters of Israel hear our words. Whether they hearken or not is another story, you know. Let me read that again, 17. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for mine anointed. So he's ordained the prophets. And just because we'll bring it out, just a precept. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. See, so the prophets were ordained from the womb, before we came out the womb. He sanctified us, meaning he purified us. And now we're being purified by the Holy Spirit, you know, because we're baptizing ourselves, meaning submerging ourselves in these scriptures. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And why is that? Because every single nation is in Babylon, America. So when we're out there in the street corners, we're prophesying to all the nations, not just the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is the only concern, and really only 1/3, and more exclusively the 144,000 prophets. But the point is everybody hears it. Everybody gets a chance to hear this word, you know. And Yahweh is going to be the one to put a spirit on you to either reject it or to receive it well and go out and teach it. You know, if you're a prophet, you'll take it to that level. But he ordains the prophets from before the womb, before we came out the womb. You see? Oops, let me go back to Proverbs 6. And where am I at? Oh no, I was at Psalms, my bad. Psalms 132. 10. Verse 18. Psalms 132 and 18. His enemies, talking about David's horn, talking about Israel, I'm talking about really the prophets. Let me read it. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. You See, so showing you this is for the elect, you know. And the enemies, who are the enemies of the elect? Esau, Edom. Who's going to be the ones who are going to try and persecute us in Jacob's trouble? Esau, Edom. Who is Yahweh going to clothe with shame? Esau, Edom. You know, and along with the other heathen nations, but starting out, as always, with Esau, Edom, to be cursed and to be put into slavery ultimately in the kingdom. So let's read it again. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. And because we, in the book of Esdras tells you in the Apocrypha that, hey, we are going to receive a crown. Yahweh Shai is going to put a crown on our head at the end of, when we get to the kingdom, man. Go back to Proverbs 6 and verse 5. So it says, deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. See? So a fowler is basically a person who catches birds. But a roe is a deer. Like, it's like, let me read it again. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter. That's like a deer. The way if a deer gets away from the hunter, hey, he escaped judgment, right? Well, that's what this is telling you. Like that dude that came to the camp, he's basically a deer. What do they say? The deer, he looked like a deer in headlights. That's how he's going to be. He's not going to be a deer that gets delivered from the hand of the hunter. And in that day, the hunter is going to be Yahweh Shai, and the chariots. Do you see how Yahweh brought that man to the camp? Yahweh put the spirit on that man to, be a blabbermouth and a false prophet. So, you really don't want to play with Yahweh, man. Like, that man is going to be tormented because of what he did that day. He's not going to gain salvation because he didn't get no wisdom, because he didn't have the enough wisdom or knowledge to just be quiet and listen. So let me see. Verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Oh, wait, let me bring out this real quick. This preset. Psalms 91:3. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. And what is that noisome pestilence? That noisome pestilence is going to be those missiles, So that man, just by his, show of pride and arrogancy, and he wanted to impress his woman, he fucked himself over, man, by doing that. By coming up on the prophets and speaking over us and, just basically being a fucking idiot, Even if you do think you know something, just walk up and just shut the fuck up, You don't need to act like you're the, what's the word? I just learned it. Means you want to be more successful than others. Man, I can't remember what it starts with a P, but it's slipping my mind right now. Anyway, let me go back to Proverbs 6, and I'm going to be at 6. It says, go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. And really, you're a sluggard if you don't know this truth. That's who this chapter is talking about. You people who don't receive this truth, you people who are stuck in modern Christianity because the Lord has not given you the eyes to see this truth. Instead, he's given you the spirit of a sluggard. So let me keep reading. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. You know? So an ant is considered wise, more wise than these people that are in darkness, than these sluggards, you know? That's what Yahweh is calling you in this chapter. But let me go to 20:4. And it says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold, therefore he shall beg in harvest and have nothing. You see, so this is dealing with the work, you know, waking up. You got to do the work to get this truth. You know, you got to seek him. You got to seek wisdom, and you got to seek the truth. You know, and the way you do that is by, you know, sitting down doing these lessons and doing camp. You also get edified yourself when you do the lessons and when you go to camp, you know. But a sluggard's not going to, you know, if it's cold outside, hey, the sluggard's not going to go to camp, you know. He's not going to prepare early, you know. He's not going to, what's that scripture? He wakes up early, you know. You know, you prepare early for this thing, you know. You don't want to like be in the situation when the chariots are in the skies and the destruction's coming, the missiles are flying, and now you want to, you know, now you want to go to work, you know, because you have all that fear in your heart. But guess what? You didn't do no work. You weren't diligent. Now you don't even know who to call on. You're still calling on Jesus Christ, like that sluggard that came to the camp, you know. So, you know, do the work early. But he's a sluggard. He wasn't out there teaching. No, he went out there to the garden we went to the garden of the gods to prophesy and teach. He went to the garden of gods to walk with his old hag, you know. So he's a sluggard. That's why he's going to be begging in the harvest. And what harvest? When judgment comes to planet Earth, when Yahweh Shai visits the earth, you know, that's going to be the harvest. He's going to have nothing, it says here in verse 4. All because of his arrogance, his pride, and his misled by his daddy Esau, you know. And I'm just using him as an example, but the majority of you Israelites are just as he is, a sluggard, you know. You don't have no oil, you don't have no wisdom, you don't have no understanding in this truth. Therefore, you know, thou art to be destroyed. That's why, hey, you got to get in this truth and stay in this truth and be diligent and keep, you know, that's the only way to keep the fire, you know, because that's the only way to keep your spirit on fire. Let me go to Proverbs 6:6 again. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. You see, so he's saying, look at the ant. And you know that, what do they call them? Working ants, you know. And you see ants when they're doing their thing, you know, you may come up on an anthill and you just see them. They're all working, man. They're all working together. They don't have a guide, an overseer, or a ruler, but yet they're all working. And they're carrying food back to the mound or the anthill, whatever you want to call it. You know, but they're all preparing and they're all working together. You see? They do better than Israel does. The nation of Israel is the majority of them are sluggards. Meanwhile, all those ants are in line. They're all out there working their asses off, preparing. And that's what Yahweh was comparing you Israelites to. This, he's saying, hey, you consider the ant's ways, you know, who does her work early, you know. Let me read verse 9. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? So see, Israel, when are you going to rise out of your sleep, man? The majority of you aren't going to rise until it's too late, and you're going to have to be a living sacrifice on the altar of Babylon America, verse 10. Actually, let me go to this precept. Proverbs 24. Proverbs 24 and 30 says, I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. You see? So basically, the field and the vineyard of the sluggard, he had thorns were growing everywhere, nettles covered the face. I mean, the place was unkept. Why? Because he wasn't doing no work. And it's comparing it to a vineyard, And what do you make at a vineyard? Wine. What are the prophets doing out there? We're making wine. This is the new wine. We're giving you it's not new because it's ancient wisdom, but it's new because we're coming back into the remembrance and we're refreshing our minds with this truth now, So it's a metaphor, It's all this chapter 6 in Proverbs is literally dealing with doing this work. You can't fold your hands. You can't say, "Oh, it's cold outside today. I'm not going to go to camp." You can't say, "Oh, I'm just going to miss camp once and then I'll rise out of my sleep." No. You have to be diligent, man. Once you're in this thing, you don't want to be like a dog going back to your throw up and eating it. That's what dogs do. And that's what this when you fall out of this truth after you've been in it, that's what you're doing. You go back to the world, you're eating throw up, You're like a dog that goes back to eat his throw up. That's what you're likened unto in the scriptures. Proverbs 24 and 30, I read it. So now we're in Proverbs 6 and I'm at 10. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. And I looked up that word poverty just to get a better understanding. And the second definition in the Merriam-Webster dictionary says poverty is a renunciation, and I had to look up that word, but it means rejection. So let me read it first with that word in the definition. Renunciation as a member of a religious order of the right as an individual to own property. And then if you read it with the word rejection, it says rejection as a member of a religious order of the right as an individual to own property. You see, so that literally that crown we're trying to get, that we're thriving to get, that reward, that's property, And if we don't stay diligent, then your property is going to be given to another man who's more worthy. But it's all ordained by Yahweh, so really all we can do is play it out and hope that that's why we say the hopeful elect, But poverty comes down to rejection as a member of a religious order of the right as an individual to own property. So you're going to be rejected from your spot or rejected from that crown, And that's a that's a terrible thing, you know. You want to do the work, and you want to, you don't want to be a sluggard, man. You don't want to take your hand off the plow. You got to be in season, out of season, you know. Let me just go to that real quick. Timothy, 2 Timothy 4:2. It says, preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. Right? You got to be, you got to be you got to do this thing. Hey, you can't be a fair weather friend, or a fair weather Israelite. No, you gotta be diligent. Let me read 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, which we're in that time, because these people are not bringing sound doctrine. That guy who came up to the camp, his doctrine was whacked out, bugged out modern Christianity. All right? Which we can cut all day long with the scriptures. But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers. That's what he did. And having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. You see, that's what he was. He was trying to push Esau's doctrine, which is fables. And a fable is basically a lie. A story, but it's a lie, But that's what our people, have that heavy delusion on them, like it says in Thessalonians. I think it's 9. No. Well, verse 11. And for this, let's read it. And with all, verse 10, 2 Thessalonians 2:10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. See, that guy could have been saved if he would have received the obedience of the truth, the love of the truth. But no, he couldn't shut up. Verse 11, and for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. All right? And he was coming in the spirit of Jesus Christ, and that's a lie. All right? But he, like I say, he didn't have he didn't have it in him to just shut up and listen. Instead, he was, bringing his unsound doctrine, his fables, his strong delusion, and he believes a lie. The guy believes a lie. If you have a little bit of patience, a little bit of common sense, and a little bit of, just ability to just shut up and listen, then hey, maybe you could be saved. Maybe you can get that delusion pulled off you that Yahweh put on you, Verse 12, I'm going to read it. That they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. That's what that guy had. He had pleasure in unrighteousness. He walked off with his woman all proud, feeling like, like, oh, baby, I was just trying to show them the good Christian that I am, and that Jesus Christ loves them. And they're both in darkness, in slumber, sluggards, But, that's the whole moral of this chapter, Don't be a fucking sluggard. Don't fold your hands, meaning don't stop doing the work. Or else poverty is going to come upon you. And like I say, it's not talking about like poverty, like poverty in the streets. No, it's talking about poverty meaning, hey, you're going to lose your right as an individual in losing property, which is that crown that we're trying to get. You know, the 144,000 elect are going to receive a crown. You know, but you won't. You will lose that property, and that's what this scripture is referring to as poverty. You know, when you lose that crown. So that's it, though. With that, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Harakakadash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles, a great millstone, for teaching us this truth. I also want to acknowledge all of you Akim out there pushing this truth with sincerity in the streets of Babylon. All right? Shalom to the elect. May you endure. Shalom.